Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
And I'm Kilina Udayaratna. We begin with a look at the headlines for tonight. The President receives an award from Interpol. The Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has been altered. A meeting between the President and the opposition leader will be held soon, representatives of both parties said. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Secretary General says that the idea to nominate a presidential candidate has not changed. France and Norway join the gas and oil exploration in the Mannar Basin. Brazil rejects an offer of aid from the G7 countries to help tackle fires in the Amazon rainforest.
Moving on to those and other stories in detail. Secretary General of Interpol Jurgen Stock presented President Maithripala Sirisena with the Interpol Medal today. The medal was awarded to the President for swiftly taking actions to apprehend the criminals who were responsible for Easter Sunday terror attacks. The meeting was held at the President's office this morning. President Sirisena thanked the Interpol Secretary General for immediately responding to the request made for the assistance to investigate the Easter Sunday attacks. He also praised the assistance extended by the Interpol to fight against the criminals. Interpol Secretary General Stock said that Sri Lanka police and intelligence officials were highly professional and the Interpol experts received their fullest cooperation. Discussions were held regarding a new agreement to provide new drug trafficking police tools and expertise to law enforcement officials to detect drugs. Secretary to the President, Udaya R. Senaviratne, was present at this occasion. The Interpol delegation met with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Temple Trees today. Interpol Secretary General Stock said that the global security process has been improved with the cooperation extended by the Sri Lanka Prime Minister, who has identified the need to launch a common program with the international community to ensure global security and to mitigate global terrorism. He further said that the Interpol requires the political assistance in carrying out their duties effectively and efficiently, even though the organization is an international agency. Ideas were exchanged during the meeting on the need and the importance in exchanging information with the use of modern technology. Subsequently, Interpol Secretary General Jurgen Stock took part in a special media briefing held in Colombo today.
We have been supporting the Sri Lankan police in several areas. As it mentioned, the team that Interpol sent to Sri Lanka was a team of different experts. So the support was provided in support of the managing the crime scene, so support in collecting relevant evidence. It was support in providing analysis, so conducting and collecting the necessary evidence and providing analysis with technological tools, let's say, to collect the bigger picture. So also support we provide in terms of providing analysis. We helped in analyzing a lot of data that were searched and seized by the authorities. So more than 1 terabyte of data were collected, and Interpol helped, the specialized team helped in analyzing this information that was collected. We helped also identifying the victims of these bomb attacks according to international standards. That's also something that Interpol has been doing previously in Ethiopia after the terrible plane crash. You might recall that. So Interpol has been, in cooperation with our international law enforcement community, establishing certain standards that we also have been applying here in this case, and we help the national authorities, again, in properly identifying the victims, including the support for the repatriation of those victims, the foreign victims who came from other countries, and sending them back home to their home countries. So various areas where Interpol was able to provide support to the local authorities, of course, who have always been in the lead in conducting these investigations, including what I mentioned in my statement, that one of the ringleaders was arrested in a Middle East country based on a so-called red notice, which is a global alert. And Interpol also supported the identification, the localization of this suspect. The Extradition itself is a process that takes place between countries concerned. This is an area where Interpol is not directly involved. I applauded the President. I thank the government of Sri Lanka for the excellent cooperation that was provided when the team arrived during a whole month. That was the period where a team was present here and provided the support to the Sri Lanka National Police. We are also looking forward, as I mentioned, continuing our cooperation. So all the law enforcement agencies around the world are challenged by, let's say, the globalization of crime. We know that no country, no region can fight terrorism or organized crime or cybercrime in isolation. These have really become global issues, and we know globalization will continue, and also the globalization of crime will continue. And Interpol is providing a global platform to share relevant information.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the development and the growth of the country has been hindered as the intellectuals in the country remain silent while burdening the politicians with many tasks. The president made these remarks during a media ceremony to award teachers' appointments in the southern province held at the Valigama Town Hall today. Several newly recruited teachers received their appointment letters from the president, symbolizing the distribution of teachers' appointments for 1,250 Sinhala and Tamil medium teachers. President Maithripala Sirisena said that the development and growth of the country has been hindered as he seems to find intellectuals in the country remain silent, burdening many of the politicians in many tasks in the country. He then questioned regarding the capacities and capabilities of such intellectuals. The teacher's profession is one of the best professions in the public sector. Teachers are responsible in creating intellectual future generations in the country. He requested the newly recruited teachers to care for the future generation in a responsible manner. The president said that the graduates are national resources to the country, created through free education that is also part of the country's system.
පැවතුම් වලින් මිනිස්සු ඈඩ් කරන්න උසස් මනසක් ඇති මිනිසෙක් බිහි කරන්නේ ගුරුවරයා. ඔබ මෙතන ඇති විවාහකයි. මෙතන ඇති අවිවාහකයි. නමුත් අද ගුරුපත් වීමෙන් පස්සේ ඔබ හැම කෙනෙක්ම අම්මා කෙනෙක්. ඔබ හැම කෙනෙක්ම තාත්තා කෙනෙක්. ඇයි ඔබට දරුවෝ බාර වෙනවා. ඒ දරුවෝ ඔබෙන් ඉපදිච්ච දරුවෝ වගේම ඔබ ඒ ආදරය කරන්න. උපායදාරියෙක් කියන්නේ ජාතික සම්පතක්. නිදහස් අධ්‍යාපනයෙන් බිහි වූ විශිෂ්ට නිර්මාණයක්. නිදහස් අධ්‍යාපනයෙන් බිහි වෙච්ච විශිෂ්ට චරිතයක්. ඔබේ බලාපොරොත්තුව ඔබ ගුරුවරයෙක් විදියට ඔබ ඉංජිනේරුවරු බිහි කරන්න, වෛද්‍යවරු බිහි කරන්න, නීතිඥයෝ බිහි කරන්න, විද්‍යාඥයෝ බිහි කරන්න. ඒ සියල්ල කරන්නේ ඔබයි. ජාතියේ අනාගතය වෙනුවෙන්, රටේ පැවැත්ම වෙනුවෙන්, යහපත් සීලාචාර සමාජයක් වෙනුවෙන් ඒ සියල්ල සඳහා ඔබේ කැපකිරීම. ඔබ වාසනාවන්තයි. ඔබ පින්වන්තයි. ඔබ වාග්යවන්තයි. වෘත්තියක තිබෙන රාජ්‍ය සේවයේ තියෙන උතුම්ම වෘත්තිය ගුරු වෘත්තිය කියලා ඔබ අහලා තියෙනවා. ඒ මිනිසුන් තිරිසන් භාවයෙන් මුදවාගෙන මිනිසුන් සැබෑ මිනිසුන් බවට පත් කරන්නේ ඔබ නිසා.
The governor of the southern province, Hemal Gunasekara, governor of the eastern province, Shan Vijayalal De Silva, and parliamentarian Mahinda Amaravira were present on this occasion.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is set to undertake an official visit to the Maldives on the 2nd of September. The Prime Minister is expected to visit the Maldives, accepting an invitation from the Maldivian President Ibrahim Mohamed Zoli. The leaders expect to improve bilateral relations between the countries, build new cooperation in several fields and exchange ideas on issues concerning to both countries on zonal and global levels during this visit. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe would also chair the 4th edition of the Indian Ocean Conference set to take place in Maldives on September 3rd and 4th. The conference is organized by the Indian Foundation Institute with the assistance of the S. Raharatnam College on International Studies based in Singapore and the Maldivian government.
Minister Sajid Premadasa says that fraud, corruption and mismanagement in the country will be completely mitigated if he is granted with the public mandate. He said that he will begin an era to provide relief for each citizen of the country in the near future. The minister made the remarks while taking part in the ceremony to vest a Dhamma school building constructed at the Sri Sudarshana Ramaya temple in Dibulagala, Polonnaruwa with the studentship today. The building, which consists of all facilities, was built at a cost of 4 million rupees allocated through the Central Cultural Fund. Minister Sajid Premadasa said that he expects to provide Dhamma school buildings for each temple without a Dhamma school in the country within the next 5 years when the nation takes the correct decision. All necessary requirements for a temple will be provided by him in the future. He said that he will provide a uniform and a meal for each student attending Dhamma schools.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party and Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna say that a meeting between President Maithripala Sirisena and opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa will be held in near future. The representatives of both the parties made these comments to media after today's meeting. The 7th round discussions between Sri Lanka Freedom Party and Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna were held today at the opposition leader's office in Colombo. Representing Sri Lanka Freedom Party, MPs Mahinda Amaravira, Dasir Jayasekara and Lasantha Alagiyawanna took part in the discussions. Former Minister Basil Rajapaksa and Professor G.L. Pires represented Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna at the meeting. The discussion was held for 2 hours and the representatives of both the parties mentioned that the meeting was a success. National organizer of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Basil Rajapaksa said that they have no concerns in safeguarding the identity of SLFP, which is a monumental political party in the country, and they were once part of it as well. He said that in addition to the policies agreed during previous meetings between the parties, new policies were also presented at the meeting, which will be presented to the presidential candidate. He added that some of the proposed policies should be discussed between the party leaders. He further said that the meeting between the president and the opposition leader will be held in near future.
සීමා කිරීම පිළිබඳව ඒවා අපේ තිබිච්ච ඒවා අපේ පක්ෂයේ නායකතුමත් ඒ පක්ෂයේ නායකතුමත් අතර ජනාධිපතිවරු දෙන්න අතරත් සාකච්ඡාවකින් තමයි ඉතින් මේක වෙන්න ඕන ඒක දින නියමයක් නෑ ඉතින් අද රැ වුණත් ඒක සිද්ධ වෙන්න පුළුවන් සාකච්ඡාව සුහදව පැවැත්ුණා.
Secretary General of United People's Freedom Alliance, parliamentarian Mahinda Amaravira said that several issues were discussed during the meeting. He said that several ideas were tabled during the meeting, including the agreements on the SLFP identity with the coalition and on the National Development Programme. The MP said that the main aim of the party is to take the country forward from the prevailing situation.
නැවත මේ රට සම්වර්ධනය කරන්න අවශ්‍ය කියන අදහසේ ඉඳගෙන තමයි අපි මේ සියලු කටයුතු කරේ. අපි හැම එකක්ම සාධනීය මට්ටමට ගෙන එන්න කටයුතු කරා.
Secretary General of Sri Lanka Freedom Party, parliamentarian Dasiri Jayasekara said that discussions were not held regarding the presidential candidate. He said that the policy decisions of the party were presented during the meeting, taken on behalf of the party members. He added that the party sought for policy agreements.
Well, Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Secretary General Dasiri Jayasekara says that the idea to nominate a presidential candidate for the upcoming elections has not been changed yet. He made these remarks at a media briefing held today. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Secretary General Dasiri Jayasekara said that the President has taken decisions not for personal gains but for the betterment of the party. They have not carried out discussions with the former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The former Defence Secretary is not a member of any party and is contesting as an independent candidate. He said that if the former Defence Secretary is willing to pose as the leader of the party, they are willing to provide the opportunity for him. However, he said that the President, Maithripala Sirisena, is still and will remain as the leader of the SLFP. Meanwhile, the Central Working Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has made a few amendments. Accordingly, parliamentarians Ranjit Siambalapitiya, Tilanga Sumatipala, Lakshman Vasantha Pereira, Chamara Sampath Dasanayaka, Peshala Jayaratna and Jeevan Kumaratunga have been appointed as vice presidents of the party. Parliamentarian Lasantha Alagiyawanna was appointed as the party treasurer. Meanwhile, the new party media spokesman position was given to parliamentarian Veerakumara Disanayaka.
The UN Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion or Belief said that the long-standing traditions of religious harmony, coexistence and sustainable peace in Sri Lanka were at risk from religious and political violence. UN Special Rapporteur Ahmed Saeed said that Sri Lanka should vigorously adopt measures to protect the rights of all people and to hold perpetrators accountable regardless of their ethno-religious backgrounds. UN Special Rapporteur of Freedom of Religion or Belief, Saeed, who was on a mission to Sri Lanka from August 15 to 26, cautioned not to ignore the simmering ethnic and religious tensions in the island country. Presenting a preliminary report at the end of this 12-day mission today, the UN expert called on the government to prosecute those responsible for violence and incitement of violence. He then requested the government to make the efforts to dismantle the network of hate and facilitate access to justice to victims of hate crimes.
I'm happy to have undertaken, at the government's invitation, a visit from 15 to 26 August to assess the situation of freedom of religion or belief in this country in my capacity as UN Special Rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief. I am grateful to the government that decided to proceed with my visit, which had been planned from last year. At this time, despite the challenges faced by the authorities in addressing the issues arising from the Easter bombings and subsequent violence. Also, at the grassroots level, I have seen active religious leaders coming together across different faiths to promote inter-religious harmony in their areas.
Commenting on the upcoming elections, the special UN envoy...
Well, you can never divorce politics from religious rights, because very often political developments impact upon the enjoyment of human rights. One of the key human rights we have is the right to freedom of religion or belief. Now, to be able to enjoy the right as I described in my briefing here, it's important that politicians promote inclusive policies, that they engage not in partisan use of religion for exclusionary purposes, but in ensuring that they are standing up for those who are victimized, standing up for those who are marginalized, so they promote inclusion and solidarity. The country is moving towards elections, and election time is usually in democracy quite a febrile time, and I would hope that there's a commitment across all parties that they would stand up for rights of everybody, that they would not seek to utilize elections for exclusionary gain based on religious identity, and therefore they will be looking at fostering inclusion and promoting solidarity and creating an environment in which they can also function as a government when they're elected.
Professor of Hudson University of USA, Professor Walter Russell Mead, says that a country should prioritize their national interests when reaching agreements with another nation. He said that the USA has no interest in establishing military bases in Sri Lanka. He made these remarks at a guest lecture held in Colombo today. The lecture was organized by Institute of National Security Studies of Sri Lanka under the patronage of Director General Dr. Asanga Abegunasekara on the theme U.S. Foreign Policy in the Age of Trump. Many ambassadors, officials from tried forces were present for the lecture.
Constructing infrastructure that promotes economic development is a good thing. It's a good thing no matter who does it, if the development is actually economically sound. So if China wants to, contribute to development of other countries in this way, why would anybody have a problem with that? That any country should just be very, very careful and only enter into projects that make real sense based on the needs and goals of your own country. Sri Lanka first would be my advice there. And some of these projects would work, and I would say go right ahead and enjoy them. And some of the projects might not work, and and then the response would be thank you for the offer, we appreciate it, but for us now this is not a good idea. That would be my basic thing there. When it comes to the sofas, these are, as I understand it, there aren't any, and I don't speak for the American government. This is one lonely professor / journal talking here. I don't actually think the U.S. has any plans for bases in Sri Lanka. No desire even for these bases. I think there have been and will be joint military operations, again, only those which the government of Sri Lanka wants to undertake. And right now what happens is every time they want to do this, there are just a lot of things. Whenever troops from country A are in country B, whether it's for a month, 100 years, or a weekend, there need to be sort of legal understandings in place, which is really what a SOFA is. And as I understand it, the goal on the American side now is that instead of having to do a new SOFA every time, a new little negotiation, okay, so like where will the Marines stay if they spend the weekend in Colombo? Every time you do that, let's just get a basic template in place. But the United States, as far as I know, has no plans for bases in Sri Lanka, and that's not the motive behind the discussion of a SOFA.
Defense Secretary retired General Shanta Kotegeda presented a memento to Professor Walter Russell Mead.
Two suspects who have operated as active members of the National Tawheed Jamaat and Jamaat-e-Millat Ibrahim organizations were taken into custody today. The arrest was made by the Ampara police with the information provided by the State Intelligence Services. Two suspects, Muhammadu Raizuddin Abdur Rahman, who was trained under terrorist leader Zahran in Nuwara, and Zainul Abdin Hafzal, who received training at the Hambantota training camp, have been taken into custody. Terrorist leader Zahran's organization had given titles of Abu Anas and Abu Rava for the suspects. They are residents of Wattagedara in Polgahavela and Kondeniyagoda in Mavanalla. 18 suspects connected to terrorist activities have been taken into custody within this month. The Terrorist Investigation Division has uncovered several weapons kept hidden in Karandia in the Palay Police Division yesterday. The discovery was made in accordance with the information obtained from the investigations carried out on the Judicial Medical Officer of Palay Hospital, Sinya Sivaruban. One AK-47 assault rifle, 2 magazines, 120 live ammunition, 11 grenades, 10 kilos of PE, 10 type explosives, telephones and several other equipment were recovered from a coconut estate.
The Interpol has issued red notices on director of Singapore-based Burmese company Pergado and T.S. Lee over the MiG fighter jet deal. Financial Criminal Investigation Division informed the Colombo Fort Magistrate Rangadisa Naika on this regard today. The case against the main suspect, Udayanga Tunga, 6 other suspects and 2 other companies connected to the MiG fighter jet deal was taken up for hearing today. According to a request made by the Sri Lanka Police, the Interpol has issued red notices effective until 10th July 2024. The police informed the courts that statements have been recorded from the former Sri Lanka Air Force commander and other Air Force officials related to the deal. Citing the progress made on the investigation, the police informed the court that the investigation have revealed that the deal has been carried out without following the relevant procurement procedures. The magistrate ordered the police to submit a report on the progress of the investigation on the 19th of November.
The Sri Lankan government reached an agreement with the Norwegian Petroleum Resources Company for oil and gas exploration in the Mannar Basin today. The first document of the agreement was signed by the 7th largest multinational company in the global petroleum resources sector, France's Total E&P company. The joint agreement was signed at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development. The joint agreement was signed by the representatives of the Total E&P company and Norwegian company Equinor. One of the benefits of the agreement is to gain data regarding the explorations without incurring a cost to the government. According to the new agreement, new partners can join the explorations when required. Domestic equipment and services will be utilized during the operations and will also cater to the exchange of information and new technology.
We are gaining ground on the exploration side of natural gas and oils in the Mannar Basin. Just a week ago, we had an event about a week and a half ago with working out the airborne gravity magnetic data acquisition processing with Bell Geospace. We signed an agreement and we set it off, and now a few days later we are again sitting on moving forward on a key moment for Sri Lanka, and especially working with two very important countries. As Minister, I am happy today that we are working together, and we are excited about the potential of oil and gas in the Mana Basin. It's been spoken about for a long time, for 30-40 years in my country, and some work started around 2011, but it has been going at a snail's pace, and now we are really on the ground. We also are in the process of, we've just finished a tender. We are looking to award the tender to the best company, which will look at drilling operations very soon, and we are hoping that in 2020 we start drilling operations, and in 2023 we will be more or less producing natural gases in Sri Lanka. So this is our target.
The new Sri Lankan Army Commander, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, called on President Maithripala Sirisena this morning. The meeting was held at the President's office. The new Army Commander presented a memento to the President during the meeting. Exclusive equipment which can sense explosives, radiations and chemicals were presented to the President today. The equipment has been built by Russian scientist Dr. Evgeny Uzachev. This unique device is worth $50,000. Ambassador of Russia to Sri Lanka, Yuri B. Materi, was also present on this occasion.
The national program of Rupavahini Ekata Sitimu is successfully taking place in Jaffna district. The residents of the district are expected to receive many benefits from the program. Jaffna Police organised a program with the drivers in the district to prevent vehicular accidents in parallel to the national program of Rupavahini Ekata Sitimu. Many three-wheeler and motorcycle drivers were present for this program. The awareness program was organised by Jaffna Traffic Police and Red Cross organisation in Jaffna under the supervision of the Superintendent of Jaffna Police Division. Child Protection Awareness Program and many other programs were held at the Jaffna District Secretariat. Protection of Elders Awareness Program was also organised at the Kaithadi State Elders Home. Many other social welfare projects were organised throughout the district.
Well, meanwhile, the Indonesian Batik workshop Jamputan, organised by the Indonesian Embassy in Sri Lanka, was held at the embassy premises today. The workshop was conducted by Brillianto, an Indonesian batik clothing designer. Jamputan batik is a traditional fabric designing technique deriving from Indonesia. The fabric belongs to the brocade family of textiles using the tie and eye and dye technique to create certain motif from plain fabric. The dye of the fabrics have been produced using various natural ingredients. Many participants, including the local designers of the National Crafts Council, undergraduates of the Fabric and Designing Faculty of the Aesthetic University, members of the Modern Arts Society and multidisciplinary design lecturers were present for the workshop. The conductor of the workshop, a renowned designer of Brillianto, received a memento from the Deputy Ambassador of the Indonesian Embassy in Sri Lanka.
such an honor for me come here. It is because I bring a pride of Palembang heritage. It's called kain jumputan.
We come to Colombo, Sri Lanka to bring our traditional fabrics from Indonesia, from South Sumatra. The name of the fabric is jumputan or kain pelangi or rainbow fabric. Basically, we want to show to the world that Indonesia has many kind of traditional fabrics, not only batiks, but also this kind of jumputan with different patterns and colorings. We get all the ingredients from nature. Back in our hometown, we want to improve the economy life of our craftsmen so that they can produce more of this traditional fabric.
Totally the first time. It's very insightful and it's like a whole new experience.
Oh, well, Indonesia is famous for its amazing fabrics. I mean, it really is one of the world centres of excellence in craft, and so, anything to do with Indonesian textiles, I jump at the opportunity to see.
So for me to learn to do it like this, I've been wanting to learn how to use natural dyes, how to make natural dyes, and I have been trying this technique and not knowing how to do it so well. So it's been amazing for me.
Well, that's it from the Rupavahini English News Desk for tonight. Join us once again tomorrow for the very latest. Until then, good night.
Good night.